Welcome to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael Neece, president of Our Future is Kind, and your companion in conversations about kindness, leadership, connection, and courage. Each week, I sit down with thoughtful leaders, creators, and bridge builders to explore what a healthier, more humane future could look like, and the choices it takes to build it. These are honest conversations about purpose, culture, curiosity, and what it really means to show up for one another at work, in our communities, and in everyday life. Along the way, we'll unearth practical ideas, small but meaningful acts, and questions worth sitting with, because building what's next is a choice. So let's dive in. Sarah Jakle is founder and executive director of Democracy since 2020. Previously, she served as the Get Out the Vote director for the California National Organization for Women and National Outreach Director for Field Team 6, leading the innovative effort to register voters using effective issue-based voter registration techniques. Empowering women to hold political office has been a focus since Sarah first interned at the Women's Council of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee in college. Sarah Jakle, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Michael. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here and to talk all things voting and empowerment today. It's going to be great. So I gave a brief introduction of you. I would love it, though, if you would tell our audience, what do you think makes you, you?
Oh, my goodness. What an insightful question. I would have to say that what makes me me was a moment in 2014 when I was a fairly young social worker who was working with our homeless community dealing with mental illness, when I was diagnosed with a fairly brutal autoimmune disease and told I would never work again. That it wasn't fair, it was the nature of the illness, and just the pain and fatigue were so great that it would make working impossible. And I did sit on a couch with my puppy dog, Max, for about 2 years. But Michael, what makes me me is I am stubborn and academic. And I thought that I may not be able to change what was happening to me, but I could try to change who I was in this moment and how I would show up to what was happening. And so I immersed myself in studying the brain, studying how people responded to adversity, looking at different modalities like self-compassion, acceptance, commitment therapy, and practicing over and over, showing up to myself and to the world with a different type of compassion and acceptance that shifted my relationship to pain and fatigue. And I say all of that because when the election of 2016 happened, I decided that I wanted to get up. And because I had done all of that work, I turned those skills into brain hacks and started showing up just to register one voter, just to do one canvas. And I did it so many times that the fancy titles that you cited in my biography came true. And I became a national outreach director and a Get Out the Vote director. And all of this of who I was when I was working in politics and saw what women went through, both how they underestimated themselves and were much less likely to see themselves as candidates for office, but also when they did step up into public service and civic engagement, the backlash against them, women get up to 10 times more harassment and bullying. And I thought, my whole life has led to this moment. What if I could train high school girls, not just with civic engagement skills and becoming engaged, informed advocates, but these battle-tested skills that I learned to overcome adversity, to step out of a comfort zone, to say yes when your brain is saying no, so that women could truly thrive. And I think that moment in 2014, you will never work again, is the catalyst to everything that happened afterwards.
Well, we owe a lot to the fact that you didn't just believe it. You didn't just stay in that mode forever. So thank you for that. And And can you tell me why, when you decided that you were going to dive in and that you were going to pursue trying to empower more women to both get into voting and also to run for political office, why did you choose high school girls? Why not people like me, who are in our 50s or somewhere a little bit more advanced, have a little bit more wherewithal? Why the high school set?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Two main reasons. One is high school is the last time boys and girls think they can run for office equally. And then it immediately drops 8 times faster for girls than boys.
Wow.
So rather than restarting women in their 40s and 50s, if we can get to girls in high school and just keep them sprinting ahead, I think we will see a change in the pipeline to office. And the other reason was because when I was working in politics with adult women and I was talking to them about the skills that I had learned, right, that I had studied about overcoming adversity, imposter syndrome, and the brain, they kept saying to me, Michael, I wish I knew this in high school.
Yeah.
What would my life have been like if I could speak to myself in a kind way, if I could regulate my nervous system, if I could practice noticing things that were beautiful and joyful to try to train my brain to pick up on those? What kind of life would I have had? And I do think Desmond Tutu said it best when he was talking about how we cannot just keep picking logs up out of the river. We have to stop them from falling in. And all of that is why I went to high school.
Well, it's wonderful that you're serving that age, because then they can potentially have a lifetime filled with a sense of empowerment. You've mentioned a couple of times, though, you have these techniques, you have these things that you've studied to try to get them there. Can you share with us just a couple of little tidbits so that we can all employ them?
I would love to. And I would also just like to note for your listeners that these work regardless of your gender identity. Right? These tools help people in general. I focus on women. These are helpful tools. So I would love to say, what I feel like is so appropriate to this podcast, Michael, is one of the skills called inner best friend. So we are all incredibly familiar with the inner critic. Yeah. She is the voice that says, you can't do it. It's not your time. It won't work out. And evolutionarily, that voice was very helpful. Because back in cave person days, you needed to think over and over about all the things that could go wrong because that kept you alive. It is not as helpful in 2026, but the part of your brain that developed during evolutionary times, that ancient part, is running off those old scripts. And it's very difficult to just try to shift the inner critic because she's a survival strategy and she will fight because she thinks she's keeping you alive. However, if you hack an ally that you can turn to that talks to you differently, the way you would talk to your friends. When we think about how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to our friends, we often realize we would never speak to our friends the way we speak to ourselves. So Democracy Girls learn the inner best friend. And that is a person or an animal or a literary figure, a podcaster, anyone who makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. And the question we ask is to first identify your inner best friend. So I would ask you, Michael, who is that real or fictional being, because the research shows they work equally, that could serve as a voice that makes you feel seen, heard, and valued?
Wow. It sounds like it's something I'm going to have to ponder. Does it help to journal about this and to try to have conversations?
It can help to journal about it. It can be the first thing that comes to mind. You can have 5 inner best friends. So I have 2. Barack Obama is an inner best friend.
Oh, wow.
And my puppy dog, Branch, is an inner best friend. And so, for example, when I am coming on a podcast I admire, right before I come on, I ask myself, what would my inner best friend say to me? Because, of course, the inner critic kicks in.
Right.
It's not going to go well, right? It's not going to. So you say, thank you, inner critic. You were so helpful to keep me alive. I'm going to ask Barack Obama. And Barack Obama says, being brave and showing up and speaking your truth is part of how we make change. It is part of how we spread joy in the world. And Branch, my puppy dog, says, I love you unconditionally. No matter how it goes on the podcast, I'm going to love you. Yeah. And when I internalize those voices, it makes me more able to step out of my comfort zone, be brave, because I know I can tell myself and feel seen, heard, and valued. So the inner best friend and then the inner champion, who's the one who encourages you to be brave and stand up for your values. So Megan Rapinoe, the soccer player who won the World Cup, right, is my inner champion.
Sure.
And she encourages me to be brave and be a little bit bigger than I think I can be and a little bit bolder than I think I can be. And we teach these to high school girls. So before they do a test where they're nervous or an AP or apply for that reach school or go to a speech and debate competition or think about voting for the first time, they ask themselves, what would my inner best friend say? And they access that cheerleading, powerfully optimistic, kind voice. And that's what drives them forward. And it's learning to shift from the inner critic to the inner best friend and inner cheerleader is transformative in how we feel about ourselves and actually makes us much more able to accomplish our goals.
And who couldn't do with an extra good friend, right?
Right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, for right now, the ones that are coming to mind are Mr. Spock and Mr. Spock.
He's perfect.
Right? I mean, you know,
he's great.
He's wonderful. He's there. He's like, logically, this will go well. You will be fine. And here's why. And I'm going to list you 30 reasons. And then I have a cat whose name is Mr. Spock. And of course, you know, he would rub up against me and purr and tell me that it's all going to be fine and it'll be over soon no matter what. So.
That is exactly the role of the inner best friend. And what you are so beautifully showing people, Michael, is it's completely unique to you. You don't have to justify your inner best friend to anyone. Right. It is who makes sense as that voice that encourages and supports you.
Love it. I love it. It's wonderful because it also echoes something else that I was going to ask you about, which is allies, right? When we're thinking about how any big social movement happens, it is always with some well-intentioned allies. Sometimes the allies don't get it right. Sometimes they try and they're a little clueless and so I, as the face of white male privilege in America, I do try to do the research. I do try to understand, but I don't always get it right. Do you have advice for allies as you are trying to get more women to the polls and more women to run for office?
I do. My first is to know, Michael, we are all but imperfect human beings. Nobody is perfect. No one is going to get it right all the time. That is an impossible standard that only invites in the inner critic, right? You're not doing it right. I feel like it is so important. Allies are so important in this movement. And I feel like when allies can be kind to themselves and know that they are trying and they are showing up and they will not get it right all the time. And that's okay. And they learn and grow just as every human being learns and grows, whether you're an ally or not. And I think you are so brave and so kind to identify as an ally and come into this space and look to learn and uplift. And I think reflecting that kindness back to yourself actually also makes you more receptive to hearing when sometimes we need to make a shift or sometimes we didn't know something and we learn new information, right? Because if it's not an attack, if it's a learning, if it's teaching, that makes us more able to hear. So the first thing I would say is know that we are but imperfect humans. And that is so true. And to know how valuable allies are. I think my father was an original ally because he taught me that women could do anything men could do. My dad is not perfect, right? He has other things where he doesn't see the things that I see as a woman. But he showed up for me every day in the certainty that I belonged in these spaces. And I would not carry that to the girls that I teach without my dad, who was an ally. And dads of girls especially are such important allies because girls look to their dads to see what is their value, what is their worth, do they belong? Right. And I think some of the most important allies that I see, because I work with high school girls, are girl dads. And I want to celebrate girl dads who uplift those girls and uplift young women and let them know they see them and love them and they belong. This is kind of a rambly thing about allies, but I would just say to be kind to yourself, to keep showing up and learning, and especially let developing girls know that they have value because they're looking to you to see if they do.
Well, as somebody who sits down in meetings and in social situations, who is male, clearly presents as male, it is so fascinating when another male will come into that situation and a female in the group will ask a question or make a statement, and this other male looks straight at me and starts answering as if I were the one who asked the question or made the statement. This has happened to me so many times in my life. I can't, it's hard to express how weird it is. But I've been in situations where the problem solver at the table is a woman or a girl who's come to the table very prepared, knows what to say, and then says it out loud. And then the man who wants the problem solved looks at me as if I somehow have the answers myself, which I really don't, you know. So just to all of you allies who are out there who are listening in, know that that is a cycle that you can break. And the way that I break that one in particular is I don't look at the man. I look straight at the woman who just made the statement, and I just keep my focus locked there, because then he has nothing to look at. He eventually has to look at her and recognize, oh no, I just recognize what I'm doing. This is not cool. Wow, why did I even do that? So I think there are little subtle clues and hints that we can drop as well.
So I would throw in one other one in that situation for allies to look out for, because the other thing that happens to women in meetings is that she'll say an idea and her male colleague will then repeat the same idea and the people in the room turn to him and compliment him on his idea.
Right.
So I think one of the things that allies can do in that situation is say, wait, I think Sarah actually just said that. Right. Because the woman shouldn't have to articulate that herself, and people won't look well on her for trying to draw attention back to herself. But a male ally can catch that right when it's happening and speak up and say, hey, I think Sarah just said that. Sarah, what do you think about? So I think there's so many ways as allies to show up. I love your redirecting your attention, looking back at the woman, right, is a tremendous way. Mentioning if someone is hijacking. One of the reasons I focused on allies being kind to themselves is because I think the fear of not being a perfect ally silences men. And they hesitate to speak up because they're worried they'll do it wrong. And that's why I'm emphasizing that you trying to, the way you're redirecting back at the woman or saying, Sarah, it may not be perfect, but you are showing up, and that is brave, and that is important, and that is how we make change.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So when it comes to the high school girls that you are trying to empower with these great techniques, are there things that the boys in the classroom can be doing as well? Are there things that you envision them doing to be helpful, to encourage their good female friends to run for something? Or,
you know, it's interesting because I don't particularly think a lot about what high school boys could do. I will tell you what I am hearing from high school girls are kind of horror stories about the way that high school boys are, not all high school boys, you can never make a total generalization.
Sure.
But many high school boys are showing up. And my role is to create this safe, supportive, empowering all girls environment where women can actually say, this is what happened to me in the classroom. And another girl can say, that's not okay. Brainstorming about what to do. Right. To hear their voice not shouted over, that teachers aren't not calling on them because boys are raising their hands, right? My goal is to create this incubator for young women to strengthen and support them to step back out into an unequal world so that we can get to an equal one. Yes. It doesn't mean there isn't tremendously important work going on with high school boys, and I applaud all of it. I think my role is with the high school girl right now.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm the father of a high school aged girl who's just about to turn 18, so she'll be a woman soon. And I'm very excited for her journey off into college. And I have no fear about her. She is going to seize the day. She's going to absolutely step in and be an advocate for herself. But I know it's also an uphill climb sometimes. Like you say, stepping into an unequal playing field, that can be really hard. Can you talk about what role self-care and kindness to self plays within, that growth process as women are facing, difficult conditions?
100%. I mean, I think what happens to a lot of amazing women who are pushing through adversity, right? They are shoving through difficult situations, is exhaustion and burnout.
Sure.
And the types of things that democracy girls learn, like Inner Best Friend or Inner Champion, they also learn skills like grounding with Mother Earth, which settles and regulates the body because it's asking you to notice making physical contact with something supportive beneath you. And Mother Earth is always there. You never have to ask. She's always beneath your feet. And she'll pull you back into your body so you feel more regulated. Things like adding gratitude into your life. Right? There's so much research behind gratitude. And so making gratitude lists and noticing what you're grateful for, not in a toxic positivity type of way. And that's something we're very careful to say, right? We're not about being toxically positive. We're about holding all of the emotions. And one of those is shifting the word but to the word and. So I am excited but nervous becomes I am excited and nervous. Right. I can hold all of it. And all of these are inviting young women at an early age to build kindness and self-care into the way they talk to themselves, into the way they respond to tough situations, into the way when they think about envisioning the future, so that it's not just shoving, kind of what they call in social work, like opposite action, right? Just do the opposite,
right? Which
is exhausting. And so I think you want to teach a way of relating to yourself and others that is based in self-compassion. And mine comes out of studying the research of Kristin Neff, Dr. Kristin Neff, who does a tremendous amount of work in self-compassion. And I think, it's one thing to take a bath, which is lovely, but it's another thing to learn to speak to yourself in a gentle, kind tone that encourages you. And so I think kindness towards self and others is at the heart of not only the type of public policy I want to see, the kind of civic engagement I want to be creating, but also research shows makes you more likely to achieve your goals. It makes you more likely to thrive when you're relating to yourself and others in that way.
Well, and we are all worthy of having those moments of self-validation. I love that.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So if it's all right with you, I'd like to shift gears hard and go into a thought experiment with you.
Yes, please.
All right. So, Sarah, we're going to hop into a time machine together. And here at Our Future is Kind, we try to visualize what is our future going to be like. So you and I are in this time machine, and I'm going to let you take the controls. So you're steering us toward that future 100 years from now. And while you're working out all of the really cool, intricate things to get us there, I say, hey, Sarah, we did all the right things. We did all the right things. This is going to be the best future. When we get to 21, 26, it's going to be amazing. And so we open up the doors and we step out together. What are you looking for that confirms that it really is the best possible future?
I am looking for a world where honestly every human has access to these types of skills to regulate their nervous systems and show up as the kind of human they want to be. Because I think that world ripples out into the public policy we see, where people are valued for their lived experience. I think it ripples into the laws. And I also think women in this future are equally represented in every single room where decisions are being made. And that's the arts, and that's science, and that's, definitely our government. It's in every single room. And the male allies are smiling at them and encouraging them and welcoming them to the table, because they are also regulating their nervous systems, and they are also talking to themselves kindly. And I think we start to see legislation that reflects that.
Sounds like a lovely future. So here's the corollary question, which is, what are all of the right things to get us there? You've already mentioned a piece of it. Are there other factors for us to connect the dots from here to there?
I think we're all on a giant team moving different pieces. The piece that I want to move toward that future is working with girls. I think I want girls to know that leadership is their birthright. It's one of the things we say. The running for office, leadership, that is your birthright. It's not something you ask permission for. It's not something you have to earn. It is your birthright. And I think teaching girls not just how to get civically engaged, how to be leaders, how to do public speaking, right? All of those skills, but the skills that you've heard me mention many a time now, because I'm so passionate about a woman who's got an inner best friend, who's supporting her, not only to be brave, but when very real pushback comes, because women's experiences amplify across any intersectional identity, right? The things that they're facing and the types of pushback and cuts that they get. So I am passionate that working with regulating the nervous system, shifting from the inner critic, retraining the brain toward being able to pick up more positivity, is the type of internal armor that lets women keep moving forward in an unequal world to get to the equal one.
So if somebody is feeling like they need your support, and they want a little bit more detail on how to seize these great tools and use them for themselves, how would somebody find out a little bit more about you or about democracy, and get that help?
Yeah, so our democracy website is democracy.org, and on that website is an application. We have 3 programs for busy high school girls. We have a 10-week program at 2 hours a week. We have a 1-day summer intensive, and we have a self-directed program that you can access for free online. Wow. All of these are online so that it's national, because we're in 42 states. And so you're meeting girls from all across the country as you learn these skills. And then I have a Substack at Sarah Jakle, and I am also on LinkedIn. And if people are interested, I would love to hear from them.
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, you've all heard it here, and we're going to make sure that that is in the show notes. Before we adjourn, I wanted to get 2 other very quick pieces of advice from you. Not every day is easy. Sometimes it's really hard. You turn on the news, or just something bad happens in your personal life. How do you pick yourself up? Are there ways of getting yourself back to feeling inspired?
I think the way that I pick myself up is that I use a trauma technique called titrating. I think when the news cycles are 24/7, we are very much at risk of getting overwhelmed. And we either go into hyper arousal, where we get stuck ruminating in anxiety, or hypo arousal, where we collapse. Titrating is a way of going towards something that's hard for a a definitive amount of time. And then noticing when that time is up, stopping,
right,
and asking yourself to go towards something beautiful, something lovely, something refreshing. So I read 3 articles in the New York Times.
Okay.
And then I notice that my time is up. And I go sit in our backyard and watch the squirrels play in the tree.
Oh, nice.
And then I come back inside and do some work because I work from home. And then I sit down with a puppy dog and give her belly scritches for a little bit. And it's just knowing that we can feel like we're betraying suffering when we give ourselves these moments of rest and beauty. But what we are actually doing is building up our ability to fight suffering because we're protecting our brain. And so I think noticing that I can move back and forth between something hard and something beautiful and something hard and something restful is what keeps me able to keep showing up.
That's wonderful. That's great. Are there particular writings or TV shows or podcasts or anything that you reach for when you say, oh my gosh, I just really need to feel something shining on me that's warm and positive, or something that's going to guide me to something?
Interestingly, I would say comedy specials.
Oh, yeah?
I love checking out different comedians who are bringing a humorous lens, often to heartbreaking things, is the nature of comedy.
Yeah.
And I think seeing all these brilliant minds, different takes on the world, and how they can manage to put it through and reflect it to make us laugh is a tremendous talent that I find very rejuvenating.
Yeah. It's always good to have a laugh that kind of releases you. It's great.
For sure.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, is there anything that you wished that I had asked you that you wanted to share with everybody?
I don't think so. I think I'm just grateful to be on a podcast whose title is Our Future is Kind. Because I not only think our future is kind, I think kindness is how we get that kind future. And so I am so grateful for this space that amplifies kindness, because I do think that it can sound very kind of squishy, but there's a tremendous amount of science behind self-compassion and compassion work. And I passionately believe that relating to yourself and others in a kind way is something we can train. It's something we can teach. It doesn't have to be, some people are kind, just inherently kind, but it's something we can also teach. And the more we teach and share kindness, the more we get toward that kind future.
Well, clearly I believe in it very deeply, and I'm glad that you do as well. And Sarah Jakle, I just wanted to very specifically call you out and say thank you for the work that you're doing. I envision a future in which it doesn't matter gender at all. What matters is who is showing up in good faith at the tables of negotiation, who is showing up in good faith trying to make beautiful art, who is in good faith trying to show up and value others and lift others. And what you're doing is you're making it more and more possible for great contributors to come into all of the future building. And that's the future that I want, is one like you described, where there are women who are an equal representation in all sectors of society. But I would also say, you know, trans women, I would also say that people of all different kinds of gender backgrounds. And so just thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for putting this light out into the world. And if there's anything that I can ever do for you, or the show could ever do for you, let me know. Reach out.
Thank you, Michael. And I would say there is a radiant spectrum that is women. And I think when I'm talking about women being in all the rooms, I 100% mean, I think of trans women as women, right? So they're women. Yeah. I think of our beautiful women of color. I think of our beautiful LGBTQ women, our beautiful first generation women. It is a radiant spectrum. And for America to ever truly reflect all of its people, We have to see the lived experiences of that full radiant spectrum in our office. And that is part of my dream.
Let's make it happen. I'm ready. All right. Well, Sarah Jakle, thank you once again for coming on Our Future is Kind.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate you.
This week's kindness challenge. When self-doubt shows up, pause and respond to yourself with the same encouragement you would give a close friend or someone you deeply care about. Want to stay inspired so you can stay kind? When things feel overwhelming, Sarah recommends using simple nervous system resets. Notice your thoughts, pause, and shift towards something grounding or beautiful, like nature, humor, or a calming activity. Practice self-compassion, gratitude, and moving between hard and restful moments helps rebuild emotional balance. Staying inspired comes from learning to treat yourself with the same kindness you hope to give others.
You've been listening to Our Future is Kind podcast, where building what's next is a choice. Make your next choice a good one and help build the future we want to live in.